Hello, this video is about the architects and engineers for 911Truth petition signer summary about quantity and quality of highly educated professionals who question 9/11. There are about 2,000 architects and engineers now who have signed the 9/11 petition since 2006. This petition is going before Congress, and a new investigation should be done by scientists, not politicians. The list contains an impressive number of professionals who want a new investigation, such as civil engineers, and the list has well-educated engineers, including graduates from universities from prestigious Ivy League universities. The chart that we see now on the left shows the degrees obtained, including 242 professional engineers and 163 civil engineers and other engineering degrees. Towards the right, shows the university graduates, including 41 verified architects and engineers from the University of California at Berkeley, 17 from MIT, 16 from Harvard, 15 from Carnegie Mellon, 14 from Stanford, 14 from Columbia, 11 for Cornell, and so on. The Ivy League universities are in light green. Okay, so this video will also show how these were computed from the petition list. So I'll minimize this in a second and go to the program Microsoft FoxPro, which was used for the analysis. This database was imported from CSV into a database format showing the various architects and engineers. And first on the list was David Ray Griffin, professor, a PhD at the University of Claremont. So we can see off to the right his bio showing University in Claremont, California. And there's a column called category, which shows whether they are in the miscellaneous or if they're an engineer or professor, architect, and so on. Okay, so for the analysis, because the verification team has verified just the architects and engineers at this point, we'll focus on them for doing the tabulations by degree and by university. So we can set a filter too, where the category is not X miscellaneous. And although David Ray Griffin is a very noted author and very well educated, he's not an architect and engineer, so unfortunately he would not be considered in the counting. So at the top we have Robert Bowman, doctor and lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force, and is a PhD from Caltech, a very selective university, and so he's a signer as an engineer and professor. He's also taught engineering. And then the various architects. Architects Richard Gage, who founded Architects and Engineers for 9/11Truth. And so on. If we do a count at this point, using the database that I have, there are 1,943, or 10% of the list of 19,231 records in this database. Okay, now we could do a count. If we want to see, for example, how many PhDs there are, we could do a simple find on either the website or in this database, and it'll jump from PhD to PhD. There's John Shin, who's a PhD in chemical engineering, and so on. However, sometimes PhD is written with a dot. So if I go back to the top, Control F, PH.D. and look for PhD, I'll also find some of those. So when we count, for example, for PH.D. I also want to search for PhD, and notice sometimes the PhD is in the title field, sometimes it was in the degree field, and sometimes in the bio field. However, for degrees, we will assume they're either in the title or the degree field, because sometimes in the body it was mentioning that they might be a PhD student or their father was a PhD or something like that. So we would not want to count them. Okay, now to do this, what we have is a second table of degrees, which has these, we could call them synonyms for the degree. For example, for professional engineers, it could be written out professional engineer, or it could be prof.eng. P.E. or prof.E, or various other combinations. Same with civil engineers, and same with the PhD degree. So we would search for all these various ways that it could be written, and then get a count over here of the unique occurrences of that character string. Initially, this was set up just for degrees, but also I realized it could be used for the university names. So for Berkeley, we look for Berkeley, or U-Berkeley, or Berkeley, or USB. And Harvard was pretty basic. It was either, there was not any other synonym necessary to find the Harvard. But some of them, like Columbia, we needed some synonyms. We also had to be very careful with Brown, because there are a number of universities. There's more than one that's mentioned that's named Brown. There's a George Brown University in Minnesota, in addition to the well-known Ivy League school, Brown University, which is in Rhode Island. So, in order to run these and get these counts, instead of doing them one by one, which would be very tedious, we can run a program which will automatically update those counts. So it's called, the function is called the count AE, and we can run this routine, and then it will prompt us towards the upper right corner as to whether we want to compute all of them or just some of them. So first of all, I'll run just a search for, let's say, Harvard. So I highlight that record and then click 1 to process 1. It's counting the Harvards now, and it's found 16 of them. And then it also will give a text file that can be copied and pasted into an email or onto the web page that I've created that shows different degree holders by university. Also, we can inspect a filtered database of those architects and engineers to show their details. I'll open up that window too, the bio or memo. There it is. So if we search up and down, it will be confined just to the Harvard records. And that was helpful for me to do some checking to see if people who are being counted are really in that university. Okay, and back to the command window. If I pass the parameter x, it will show also those x miscellaneous as well. So if I was highlighting Harvard and I wanted to check all of them, or just this one, what I could do is select that. It's counting the Harvards again, the Harvard graduates. And this time we have 58 come up, in addition to those that we had before, but more of them who are majoring in other degrees not related to architecture or engineering. So if I select the database itself, we'll see that yes, we do have some who are architects and engineers, but we also have some ex miscellaneous. Like here's a published microbiologist and geneticist, which is a very advanced degree, but just not architecture and engineering. Here's Asian religion. He's also miscellaneous. But here's an engineer who also has a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering, worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Rockwell International Space Systems. So a very, very talented engineer and Harvard graduate, Ed Usuri. Okay, so that's basically how this program works. And to do them all at once, what I would do, if I wanted to focus, again, just on the architects and engineers, so I will not pass that parameter that it should include the X and miscellaneous folks as well. And I'll run that, and I'll run all of them. Okay, so right now it's going to be going through all the degrees. So this will take a bit of time, but not too long, certainly much quicker than doing them manually. So I see that it's completed the professional engineers now. Now it's going through to count all of the civil engineers. It found 44 where civil engineer was written out. And then it's also checking C.E. Found one of those and found several that were abbreviated. So this will continue to count. Let's just let it go for a while. And now it's getting into the Bachelor's of Architecture. And I guess at this point you might want to, turn the video off. I'll continue on until the end so you can see about how long it takes to do the computation for all of the architects and engineers. Okay, so it's getting into the Masters of Architecture now. And also there was a ME degree, which Master of Engineering. There's also a Bachelor of Science of Civil Engineering. There was a Master of Science of Civil Engineering. Now they may be actually very related, and perhaps I should count those as the same degree. But you can see that with this program I could make such adjustments like that easily and run a count. Now you see, if you see in the degree field the tilde, that's just a little code which means that it should not count the bio field, the person's biography, because there was too much possibility of that string coming in for other reasons. For example, ME, me would come in, like in a paragraph of someone talking about himself. And MS is also like that. So wherever I found that I wanted to be sure that the count was only looking to the degree field and the title field, we put in a tilde. The degrees tend to be up in the top in the alphabet. I use the order field to determine the display order of those degrees that we're trying to count. And the purpose of this was so that I could more easily update the website. I'll switch back to there for a while it's computing in the background. So I could put for example, the 242 professional engineers, 163 civil engineers in that order. So if you see over here that is the order that they're being displayed in the list. Now it's getting into the universities. The university that had the most verified signers in architectural and engineering fields or degrees was Berkeley University. Berkeley is near the headquarters of Architects and Engineers for 911Truth on Shattuck Avenue there, and founded by architect Richard Gage. So seeing a lot of signers there. Also MIT, one of the most prestigious technology universities in the United States, has signers. So if they are signing, these people who got into such universities as Harvard, they have to be pretty smart. They're usually people who have graduated at the top of their high school class, usually the valedictorians of the high schools in America and other countries go to Harvard. So that makes me anyway feel confident that we're on the right track in questioning the official story of 9/11. Because if people smarter than me, I didn't get to Harvard. I didn't even bother applying. I got into a fairly competitive university called Colgate University, and then to Maharishi University, which also has some signers. But it just makes me feel more confident that we're on the right track. Okay, so now it's just completed Dartmouth. It's counting the Princeton graduates now, and here's the Brown University, and you can see the synonyms being used there. Brown U. Then it would also make sure that it was not like a substring of another string. So it has to have when it looks in the database, it would have to have a space before it, or a comma, or a dash, something like that. Okay, so it's nearly the end, and it's got to University of District of Columbia. And we have it almost complete, counting all of the degrees and universities in this table. All right, it's counting Hobart University in New York State, Villanova. They're a little bit off the screen. If I scroll down, we'll see that. And the program will be finishing soon. So, I don't know, that took maybe about 3 or 4 minutes for it to compute all the degrees. So we can run this, every month or so to update the chart. We'll have this available at the website listed below this video on needed.org / AE911Truth / petition. Okay, well, thank you for watching this video, and if you are an architect or engineer or know an architect or engineer, show them this chart. There may be other people from their university who have signed, which encourage them to sign as well, and to see how many people have signed who are graduates of very selective universities. All right, well, thank you very much. That concludes my presentation.